This is the concierge, sir.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and in today's episode, I got a request from a guest who actually met me at the Fontainebleau. So he actually came over. His name is, gotta give a shout out before we start the episode, Terry. Terry, thank you so much for stopping by the desk and coming and saying hello. It's always nice to see you guys out, like, enjoying Las Vegas. And yeah, it's just really cool to see, like, kind of the makeup of the people that listen to the pod. So really appreciate it. And this is his suggestion, because I'm always open to suggestions, because I like to know what you guys want to hear me talk about. I give out a lot of recommendations, obviously, but of course that can get very boring of me just listing things all the time. And he came up with a really good idea, was that he drives around, when he comes to Las Vegas, he asked me, what is going on with a lot of these construction projects along the Strip, maybe even on your way to downtown. And I said, yeah, that's actually a great idea. So today's episode, we are going to explain, update, and hopefully shed some light on a lot of the empty lots on Las Vegas Boulevard, and why some of them are in development, some of them in a holding pattern, and why they are important to the future of the Las Vegas Strip going forward. So we're going to be diving into that coming up next. Okay, everybody, so let's go ahead and start let's start at the bottom end of the Strip. So that would be near the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, which is where most of us like to say the Las Vegas Strip starts. Technically, the actual place that the Las Vegas Strip starts at for most people is the Mandalay Bay, because that's the furthest you'd actually want to walk. But technically, we count the southern end of the Strip being from the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, and the northern end of the Strip being the Stratosphere Hotel. So that is what encapsulates Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Strip. So if you actually move north from the Las Vegas sign, on the right-hand side, kind of near the airport, they are breaking ground on a boutique hotel, which was supposed to be called the Dream Hotel, which who knows? It's still there. Like, they actually have cranes going on and all that, all that jazz. So if you just type in Dream Hotel Las Vegas, it should pop up, and then it's, again, partially completed right now. It's supposed to have 531 rooms, which is minuscule in the world of Las Vegas. Actually, I'm just going to read here. So, construction's paused, and then 2-year extension, because they need permits to build these things. And yeah, so nothing's going on. So now that you know, I knew that this was sort of like something that had been happening, was that this particular project has been stalled, and subcontractors and other contractors paid back their liens, and they currently don't have any plans for that space at the moment. So it is very, very interesting that this happens quite a bit, and it's actually going to be one of the through lines to projects that were underdeveloped going into, certain times of Vegas history. But it sits there unfinished. The thing is, you have to remember, especially when you're talking about the Las Vegas Strip, whenever people build anything, they are very much handicapped to where it is on the Las Vegas Strip. Famously, the Paris Hotel wanted to build an exact replica of the Eiffel Tower. And because at that time, mid-90s, it was too close to the airport, at least at that point, was too close to the airport, so they said they could not build it the same height as the real Eiffel Tower. So it is half the size nowadays. It also depends on which side. If you are on the east side of the Las Vegas Strip, looking north, that is the closer to the airport side. So they don't have a direct flight path there, but we don't want to have a Con Air situation where a hotel lands on the Las Vegas Strip, which if a hotel, the funniest thing about Con Air is when they said, you know what, I'm going to land this plane on the Las Vegas Strip. For anybody who's ever flown into Las Vegas, which is a good chunk of you guys, Notice how much desert there is. And they were coming from California. We have plenty of desert for you to land that airplane. By the time you figured out, oh, like we have an engine out, we're not going to make it. And that is the place you choose to land. It is actually hilarious that they ended up on the Las Vegas Strip, which, oh my goodness, Con Air not in our Vegas movie episode? Crazy. Well, it was just at the very end of the movie, but fun fact about that, they actually landed that plane or filmed the landing of the plane on the Las Vegas Strip. Practically, they had a model of the plane actually land or crash in front of the old Desert Inn Hotel. Desert Inn or Sands? I don't remember. That's mid-90s. So that would have been the Sands Hotel. The reason that they were able to do that was because that hotel had been closed and set for demolition, and they said, hey, why not? And they went ahead and crashed the Con Air plane into the front of that hotel, which is always fun history. But with that being said, we're going to move more, keep our trek going north on the Las Vegas Strip, and probably one of the most famous construction areas in town that is unfinished, and that is the Skyview Pillars. So the Skyview was supposed to be a huge Ferris wheel. It was thought of around the same time we were building the High Roller at the Link Hotel. They were almost being built at the exact same time. And many of us in town were saying, one of these is going to succeed and one of these is going to fail. We didn't think that one would never be built because we thought that they were both going to be built. People were going to go to one instead of the other, and who knows which one was going to prevail. And easy enough, the one that was finished got to be the one that was the one most patronized because the Skyview funding it was over budget. They weren't able to finish it. And now we have these two wonderful pillars sitting on this big, giant chunk of land. The problem with that area is that they've been trying to sell it. It's exchanged hands over and over and over again. But there's not much you can think of building there in that location if it's not sort of an attraction spot. It's limited by being so close to the airport. You can literally see the jet fuel tanks across the way into the airport from that space. They have a lot of desert behind them. Not a lot of desert. They have this like sort of desert strip of land, and then you have the street itself going north and south and east and west. So there's not a lot of there's not a lot that you can do with that space, and that is why it just kind of sits there. And it's a shame because it sucks that you have to see those every single time you come into Las Vegas. But it was called the Skyview. I'll go into a little bit of the history on it. Skyview. So yeah, the Skyview. So the Skyview is spelled Skyvue, and this was actually supposed to be in conjunction with one in London or a company in London, and they just couldn't find funding. It's on 38.5 acres. For those of you wondering, it was supposed to also have a casino and a hotel connected to it. I had never heard of that before, which, obviously, and it just never got off the ground. It was supposed to be 476 feet. I believe the High Roller is 550 feet by my recollection. So it is one of the biggest eyesores I've ever seen in Las Vegas. It's really quite something. I'll also kind of dive into one more thing that was never open the Las Vegas Strip, but one of my favorite things to point out when I was a tour guide. But the Skyview, no plans right now. They're not going to be finishing it as a Ferris wheel, obviously. And they're still looking for somebody to purchase the property. So that's definitely something. So as we move north on the Strip, those of you who are pretty aware of Las Vegas's history, we have it used to be called the MGM Festival Grounds, which is the really empty space now, which is where the Route 91 concert venue was. And it just sits there now. Obviously, because some pretty tragic things happened there. Of course, for those who don't know, there was a huge shooting on that location. It was very scary. And the thing was that this is always kind of a weird story to tell, is that I was not in Las Vegas at that time. I was working as a concierge at MGM Grand, which is just down the street, and I was actually in Los Angeles at Universal Halloween Horror Nights. I remember we were standing in line with the Haunted House that's right next to Waterworld, and I saw it coming through, and everybody got very scared, obviously. People were calling people, and people were calling us because they were saying, "Oh, are you guys okay?" We heard stories about, the night inside of MGM Grand, and it was a very, very crazy event, definitely. So there was thoughts of building a police station there. There were also thoughts of building a tribute to the Route 91 victims, and nothing really came to fruition. It just kind of has been sitting there ever since. I don't see them building anything in particular, like a hotel or anything of that nature. But not really sure kind of what is going to be the plan going forward. Although it is very close to the next thing we're going to be talking about, and that is the former Tropicana site, which is now we're going to have the Las Vegas Ballpark. Well, actually, it's not going to be called the Las Vegas Ballpark. It's yet to be named, but it's going to be where the A's play baseball. So this is a very interesting thing to talk about nowadays, because we do have lots of people who are in this town that are very wary of certain projects. And to some extent, I get it. Most of the time it's, warranted, i.e. the Skyview. But there is a person that I have a specific problem with in this town, and that is Scott Robin, Vital Vegas. Vital Vegas is on Twitter. I used to actually follow him and thought he gave out really good, information back in the day, which I think he did. I think he had lots of scoops and that kind of thing. I think now he's just likes to sort of rile people up, especially on Twitter. It's a very specific type of people on Twitter. I mean, I'm on Twitter too, but I'm on movie Twitter. It's very different. But I don't enjoy his politics. I don't enjoy his points of view. He talks really tough for a guy who is literally 5'5" and kind of a weaselly looking man, to be honest with you. I've seen him when I used to work at Circa. I saw him through the glass all the time, walking around. I don't know. He's also kind of gross, in terms of how he talks about a specific bartender at the Plaza, how he talks about people at restaurants at Circa, which I'm was really friendly with the bartenders there as well. Didn't like the way that he talked about them, and again, that's a me thing, but I just really didn't enjoy. And then I also called him out on a lot of things, especially when I got much more opinionated on Twitter at that time. And he blocked me. So that's how you're getting to him, is you get blocked by somebody. But one of the major things that he has liked to point out, and a lot of other people, is that, this space is never going to be used for a baseball team. They're never going to build a baseball field on this site. They won't have funding for this. And sometimes it's very warranted, things like Skyview and then another arena we're going to be talking about later. But you have to use certain common sense for a lot of these things. And me coming from, watching a lot of sports deals happen, also, following a lot of sports, working at VSiN. And when a league decides to do something, so the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, but let's just say the big three. So let's just say NFL, NBA, and MLB, when they decide that there is going to be a team there, it's not let's just go check it out and explore. They definitely go in and make sure that there is a stadium that they can build, a stadium that they can renovate. Most of the time they build a new one, especially if it's moving to a different city. They vet a lot before decisions like this come about. So, yes, there are still sort of things out there about it not having its, final fundings, in place. But if you ever actually drive by the baseball stadium, they are not just moving dirt. They actually have structures in place. It's actually starting to look like a baseball field, at least the skeleton of it. And people are moving around every single day. There is something to be said about actually being boots on the ground, seeing people doing stuff, and knowing that this will not stop. I have actually, obviously there are exceptions like the Fontainebleau. It's a very good example of that was being built. It got stopped and it sat there for, 15 years. Echelon Place, well, now the Resorts World, same thing. It happens. But again, those were extraordinary times. That was the, Great Recession. And it's just one of those things where nobody was traveling, so they're not going to finish building that hotel. And especially the costs were soaring. Unless the MLB stops being a baseball league, which I don't see happening anytime soon, they are going to finish that project. Also, my dad is a painting contractor. Shout out at AO Painting Inc. on Instagram. But I understand through seeing how he works and seeing the people that he has to deal with is that once these projects get going, it is extremely expensive for them to stop these projects. It happens, but my dad being in the industrial field, my family being in the industrial field, it takes a lot for something to get stopped. Especially at this size, like football stadiums and stadiums in general are at a completely different level. There are so many moving parts that everything is planned out basically to the week, sometimes to the day, and they have deadlines to hit at each phase. So it's not like when you're building a house, like you could stop building a house because, you don't have any workers. Here, it has to get done. So I do see this getting finished. For those of you wondering, I don't know if they're going to do it. This is going to be finished at some point, and the A's will be playing baseball in that stadium. So sorry for those of you that want to doubt it, but it's going to happen. And again, the A's already left Oakland. They have to go somewhere. And also, for anyone saying they should just stay in Sacramento, if you've ever watched a game that the A's have had to play in that stadium, they actually have to stop the game to run out the bullpen players, or for them, if they get thrown out of the game, they have to run to center field because that is where they have their locker rooms or clubhouses, excuse me. So, yeah, I'm sure they're going to be moving to Las Vegas. There's also way too much money in it as well. So, moving north as we continue our trek north on the Las Vegas Strip, we do have the former location for the Harley-Davidson Cafe, the one with the big giant motorcycle that was driving out of the front. That is currently a parking lot. So, for those of you wondering what that was supposed to be, it was actually going to be, it was a proposed hotel by one of the Fertitta brothers, and it was going to be sort of narrow. It was going to run along Harmon Boulevard, and it was going to be a luxury hotel, which they just never really got behind the funding for it. So now it currently sits there as just a parking lot. So there's a place where you could park your car, just like any place else. But right now, they don't have plans on developing it just yet. I drive by it, 2 or 3 times a week. But who knows? That is a prime property on the Las Vegas Strip, by the way. That is probably the most popular corner, other than being right in front of the Bellagio fountains. But that location was supposed to be owned by the Fertittas, and it was supposed to be a luxury hotel, which never came to be. So, just want to point out at the city center, which is where the Crystal Shopping Mall is, the Aria, the Veer Towers, the 2 yellow buildings that look like they're crossing. There was a building on that corner, Harmon Corner, where the Ocean Prime is, as well as what is the other location? Jason Aldean's. So that location actually housed a 36-floor hotel. Could have been 40 floors, something like that. And it was blue, and it was called the Harmon Tower. It was the Harmon Tower. It was blue. For the most part, it had a big giant wrap on it that was said Elvis because it was the Elvis Cirque du Soleil show. That building was built during, obviously, the recession, and they were trying to cut corners on that particular building. And it was found out that I think, was it 70% of the building was, had shoddy material, and it wouldn't have held up to an earthquake. It actually failed its earthquake tests, and they found out they could not have it on the strip because it was actually unsafe. So there was a huge lawsuit for that particular project, and the reason it sat there for so long was because they were going back and forth on who to blame for this particular mess up, obviously. So it took a very long time, and they ended up having to, because they couldn't implode it, they had to deconstruct it floor by floor until it was all gone, and then it was just a pad on the ground. And then they built again, and now we have Jason Aldean's, we have the Ariat, we also have Ocean One, we have a little museum, 2 museums actually, in that location, which used to be the Harmon Tower. So I'm glad they were able to fix something on that, which is, very, very important. So as we continue our trek north on the Strip, I would say the center of the Strip is pretty well established. We have the Bellagio, the Paris, Planet Hollywood, Bally's. We keep moving down. We also have Flamingo, Caesars on the other side, the Link. We also have Harrah's. Now, let's talk about the big eyesore, but in a good way. This is the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, the brought back from the Ashes Hotel, which is actually kind of funny because many people think it's sort of, the same company that owned the old Hard Rock Hotel, which used to be over there on Harmon and I want to say Paradise. Different company, totally different company. This is actually owned by the Seminole tribe and is similar to the one they have in Florida. And this one is going to be massive. I think most of us are some people who are crying about the volcano going away, which is still very sad. It's a historic part of Las Vegas history. But as is Las Vegas history, we do not, mourn, we rebirth, and we are becoming very excited to what this is going to mean for the Las Vegas Strip as just visually stunning how it looks. This guitar is massive. They are still building it. You can see that they still have the original Mirage Hotel, which will be changed colors, obviously. They've taken out the gold windows. It actually is really cool because I think it's in such a unique location that when you actually see it up close, one, you're going to be astonished by how big this thing is. But also, they are going to have rooms that literally look down on Las Vegas Boulevard. Not out, down. Because it's the corners sort of like tilt out over where the lake used to be in front of the volcano. So the volcano had, all this big giant, all this water features in front. It sticks out over that. So it's also great that it will have unbelievable views if you are staying in the Hard Rock Guitar, because it looks north and south. And a very curious, unique thing about the Las Vegas Strip is that at the Mirage, essentially between the Mirage and the Venetian, the road itself starts to turn right just a bit. So the Las Vegas Strip is not a straight line. It actually is pretty straight from the Las Vegas sign down to about the Mirage. And at the Mirage, it then turns right just a little bit, where it now is sort of like not a 90-degree angle. It's definitely like almost, I would say, not even 45. But you used to be able to see directly and see the Trump Tower, which will now be eclipsed from with the Hard Rock Hotel. So if you're in the north-facing or south-facing rooms, you will either see South Las Vegas Boulevard beautifully or North Las Vegas Boulevard beautifully. You'll see the Venetian, you'll see the Palazzo, you'll see the Wynn, you'll see the Stratosphere, Fountain Blue. So no matter which direction you look, as long as you're in the guitar, you will have a view of Las Vegas Boulevard. So, as we continue moving north on the Las Vegas Strip, you will see cranes just in front of the Venetian Hotel. That was supposed to be the St. Regis Hotel. It was supposed to be a hotel inside of a hotel, sort of like they have at Caesar's Palace with Nobu. They had plans to continue building, but right now, again, it is still stalled, and those cranes are still just sitting there. So not a lot to talk about on that one. So as we continue our move north, we have Treasure Island, and then we also have the Wynn. We have the Fashion Show Mall, and once you get to Encore, let's use this or stop here for a second. If you're looking at the Encore on your right-hand side as you're driving north on the Las Vegas Strip, if you look to the left, you can see the Trump Tower off into the distance, and just in front of that, on Las Vegas Boulevard, there is a giant dirt patch, which gets used a lot for outdoor activities, outdoor music festivals. You know, when they have the big music festivals in town, they use it for like like during the NFR. But that plot of land, for those of you wondering, is owned by the Wynn. The Wynn owns that plot of land and planned to build what's called Wynn West. So that would have made it its third tower on Las Vegas Boulevard. So this is actually a very recent project where I actually just read that they have a permit that if they wanted to, if they start moving dirt and they start developing that area before April or into April, which is rather soon, that is when they have to do it before they have to sell. So I'll actually read it just here. So, So in 2024, Clark County extended permits for the site, giving Wynn until April 2026, which that's in like 3 weeks, to commence construction on an unnamed resort expansion. The project to be built is going to be on 34.5 acres, which would include a hotel tower, about 1,000 rooms. It would also have 28,000 square feet of casino and 85,000 square feet of convention space. Can't open a hotel without a convention space. And if they decide not to expand, they could make up to $1 billion with that sale. So it's a lot of contingent stuff. A lot of the reasons why it wasn't developed sooner is because, well, not sooner, was that Steve Wynn wanted to do this, but then when he was ousted from the company, this sort of turned things differently, and it sort of redirected what they wanted to do with that space. So currently there is no plans, from what I know, to develop that as Wynn West, which would be really cool. That'd make it a very large complex. But currently nothing is being done on that plot of land. So for those of you hoping for more rooms at the Wynn, not quite yet. So as we could, by the way, for those of you wondering, that space used to be the Frontier and New Frontier Hotel. It was called the Frontier and then New Frontier when they built it brand new. So as we continue our launch north, we're going to see the cathedral on the right-hand side, along with Tacos Al Grotto and a bunch of like little chain shops. No big deal. On the left, you can see Resorts World. Resorts World is where the Stardust used to sit, as well as the Westward Ho. And across from that, on the other side, we have an empty lot right next to the Pepper Mill. That empty lot currently is being developed, but nothing quite yet. But that used to be the Riviera Hotel. The Riviera sat there for a very long time, since the mid-1950s. I want to say 57, to my recollection. And then was imploded a few years back, which was sort of like the end of an era again in Las Vegas. But I did hear that there were some ideas, because if you actually cross in front of it, I cross by it every day to go to the Fontainebleau, is that you'll see that they have built sort of like, they've built down into the foundation, and it looks ready to be something. I heard a lot of people saying that it was going to be an expansion of Fontainebleau to be sort of like their like high-end part of their resort, sort of like how the Mansions is for MGM Grand. So let me actually just expansion, because it's always fun just to Google things, so that's always nice. But yeah, so that's what that empty space is. Also, if you look behind it, that's actually where the convention center is. The new piece of the convention center is massive, but that used to be just a parking lot. I think that the Las Vegas Convention Authority felt a lot of pressure that they had to expand because they were losing a lot of business to places like Orlando as well as Chicago, which was a huge deal. So as I'm kind of just reading here, yeah, I don't actually see anything in terms of the expansion for that. So we'll just have to skip it for now. So as we continue our move north, we're almost done, I promise everybody. If you're still listening to this, awesome. Make sure you could check us out on our Instagram page, ConcertsConfidential_LV, as well as Brian_Ortega26 on the gram. One unique place is going to be just past Fontainebleau. There's an empty lot in between Fontainebleau and Sahara. That is for the long-famed and never realized Net Zero Arena, our all net arena, excuse me. This was supposed to be an arena, a hotel complex with, entertainment as well. This was supposed to be for a basketball team. It is a giant hole in the ground, not giant hole in the ground. It's basically just a big giant lot. We get excited every once in a while when they start moving some dirt. But that particular space was meant for that. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but who knows? We do have talks of an NBA franchise coming to Las Vegas, but that does have to get voted on by the NBA owners. But currently, there is nothing going on there, so nothing to talk about. That did used to be, for those of you wondering what that space used to be, that actually used to be the Wet n Wild on the Las Vegas Strip, which many people were very fond of. Lots of people have lots of memories. I have zero memories of that particular place because I don't think my mom ever took me there. We were more of an MGM Adventureland place, family, so that's where we ended up going. But that's where that used to be. And across from that, you can see another big empty space. It is the Las Vegas Festival Grounds, which that is where we have music festivals. Used to have a lot more, but not as many. That's usually where they have like the, what do you call it? It's like the emo one. And we just had a huge convention. It was I think the International Construction Convention, which happens like every 3 years, and it had huge cranes on display there for people to see. I actually got a call from somebody who asked, like, what are they building over there? I'm curious. And I just had to tell them, nope, it's just for show, just to look at all these wonderful cranes. But yeah, that would be an interesting space. They do have thoughts on maybe making that where we have another arena. I personally don't think we need another arena for a basketball team because we have the T-Mobile Arena, which is completely fine and pretty new. Only things to sort of highlight, if you ever go downtown and you go by Main Street, just Main Street in general, they do have some cranes there. They are building more condominiums in that space and apartments because that space has become, as they would say, gentrified, which some people don't like. But, I mean, the reason I'm going to Main Street is because it feels much safer now. But that area in the Arts District, that is what they're doing in that particular space. So I think I've covered most of the stuff on the Las Vegas Strip. There's a couple things downtown, but not worth sort of mentioning. But that's the episode for today, guys. But really great idea. Thank you very much, Terry, for that fantastic choice. I know I kind of just felt like I was doing a tour guiding tour of the Las Vegas Strip, which I used to do, which was really fun. But it was fun kind of figuring out and remembering, what are all these underdeveloped or not developed projects. So just remember, if it has a sports league attached to it, it's probably going to happen. Just keep that in mind. If it doesn't, and it's just some shady guy from, I don't know, let's just pick a place to pick on. Let's just say New Mexico that has, pipe dreams and a whole big idea. Probably not going to happen. So with that being said, thank you so much everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. If you come to town and you see me, come up and say hello. But remember, keep it confidential.